This conversation is brought to you by foodpowers.com. One person's food is another person's poison. My name is Nerissa Oden, creator of foodpowers.com. It's highly likely that the foods in your pantry are at the root of your frequent health problems. Do you suffer from headaches, fatigue, hay fever, digestion issues, depression, or irritability? I suffered with all those and more for decades. I took a simple blood test that told me to stop eating salmon, broccoli, olive oil, and other everyday foods. And to my amazement, my ailments disappeared in days. Today, I control my health. It does not control me. You can experience better health too. Just stay tuned as my guests and I share jaw-dropping stories of triumph over food powers. This podcast is for sharing personal information and opinions only and should not replace professional medical advice or care. This podcast is protected by copyright. Hi, and thank you for joining me. This is Nerissa Oden of foodpowers.com. And today I'm speaking to Mathew Dixon. And Mathew Dixon is a guitarist, flamenco guitarist, and guitar teacher. And you can find him at Guitar Monks, GuitarMonks.com. And he's got some fantastic basic guitar products on guitarmonks.com. Welcome, Mathew. Thanks for talking to me today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Nerissa.
Now, I understand that you have had a food sensitivity test, and I'm curious, what was the motivating factor to get that test? What was going on?
Well, I guess basically I was getting to a point where I was feeling like I was very lethargic. I didn't have a lot of energy, and I was having a lot of suffering with sinus issues, and it seemed like seasonal allergies, especially bad. Living here in Texas, they have something called cedar fever that comes up that actually I would physically get a fever from and just feel awful. I was trying to find ways to basically get rid of that, and I started noticing that depending on what I ate had a lot to do with how I was feeling and how I was reacting to things. So when the food allergy testing was recommended, I thought this is probably the best way to go to find out. At least I would know what was causing my sensitivity so that I could get rid of it so my immune system would be strong enough to battle off and help me in my everyday situations.
Got it. So how long, what other things did you try, and how long had you been dealing with this, your whole life, or just when you moved to Texas, or?
Well, different. It changed a lot when I moved to Texas. I was born in Southern California and was there for the first 30 years of my life, and then moved here, and dealing with so many different pollens that weren't there. It was going back to that cedar fever problem. I recognized right away something was completely different. There were things that got better too, as far as because I went to a more humid climate. I wasn't as dry all the time. I used to get a lot of migraines from the dryness when I lived in Southern California.
Okay, and had you gone to allergy doctors? Were you taking over-the-counter medicine all the time?
I hadn't. I was taking over-the-counter medicine all the time. I was basically living on Sudafed, having to do that. But I didn't really go to any specialists at all. The only thing I had kind of started with was I had my daughter, because she was having a lot of eczema issues and rash problems. She was 3 when we started her. We heard about a treatment called NATE, and we tried NATE for quite a while with her. And honestly, I wasn't very happy with the outcome of that. I didn't see the progress that I thought I was going to see. It just seemed like an ongoing battle that we just kept going and nothing ever got better. They always seemed to be able to tell what was causing the problem, but after they would do their testing and clearing for it, it never actually solved the problem.
Okay, and the NATE method, N-A-E-T, I believe, is the acronym for that, if anybody wants to look that up. And so you decided to go ahead and try the food sensitivity test first, And I'm curious, what did it say that you were sensitive to?
Okay. Well, I have my list here in front of me. I can just tell you.
Okay.
Tell you some of them. Red beets, berries, Brazil nuts, sprouts, bucket wheat, blue cheese, cherries, cranberries, dates, flaxseed, hazelnut, kiwi, lime, mango, milk from goats, millet, red peppers, plums, radishes, rosemary, trout, vanilla bean, white fish, all the barley, cashews, cheddar cheese, cottage cheese, Swiss cheese. Chicken was one that I was really surprised, and I eat a lot of chicken, so I had to change that. Coffee, corn, crab, egg whites and egg yolks, so basically no eggs. Gluten, malt, cow's milk, peanuts, pineapple, pork, rye, salmon, soybeans, tomatoes, tuna, turkey, black walnuts, wheat, yeast, baker's yeast, and that's it. That's the little list.
Wow. Well, that's quite a list.
Yeah. So when I got it back, it was kind of shocking. I thought, oh, great, I'm not going to eat anything.
Right. And so, how are you doing now? Because I think it's been a couple months. And so when you stopped eating those things, what happened?
Well, there was almost instantaneous results. As far as the very first thing I recognized was my energy level just became tremendous. It was especially noticeable, like within the first 3 days. I was just like, wow, this is totally different. I felt like a totally different person. I had a lot more focus and clarity when I was working. I wanted to do more things because I had the energy to do it. And one of the things I actually started doing some cardio workout, which I'd been wanting to do, but I just never seemed to. I could maybe do a day or two of it, and I would start to feel wiped out. And I would worry about when I start to feel really wiped out that I would get sick, because in the past that's what would happen if I just kept pushing myself through. But with having the energy gain, I was able to start doing that. I also lost, the amazing thing was I lost 15 pounds in the first week.
15? I think that is amazing too, but you're pretty tall, right?
Yeah, I am. And then I lost 10 more pounds the next week.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
I lost a total of 25 pounds.
In 2 weeks.
And it stayed off. It's completely stayed off.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I've stuck completely to the diet. I've definitely slipped. I mean, there are times, and you do notice it, though. You notice it, almost 2 days later, I think is that right? Is that the, I'm trying to think of it now, but it seems like almost 2 days later, perfectly, I would feel the hit of something if I was kind of sliding off too much.
Well, the rule of thumb is that everybody is sensitive to different things, and their sensitivities affect them differently, and so the timing of the sensitivities can happen. They typically happen within 3 days. So if yours are happening, seeing noticeable changes physically on the second day, then a lot of yours are occurring on the second day.
Yeah. The other thing that I stopped having was I would quite frequently wake up in the middle of the night with just a splitting headache, usually over my right eye, sometimes in the middle of my head, but so painful to the point where I would go and have to sleep sitting up in the recliner. And what that would do is, I think it had to do with my sinuses, just the pressure would relieve. Because I'd been laying down, I would usually wake up around 3 o'clock and have this headache. Those have completely gone away. I don't have that anymore.
That's awesome. And how's the cedar fever?
Oh, that's the other thing. That was actually the next thing I was going to talk about was I went through that whole season and had absolutely no effects from the cedar. and I watched everybody else around me, getting sick and having problems. And it seems to affect people differently. Some people lose their voice, and some actually get the fever feel like I did. Sometimes I would lose my voice also. I had zero effects, went through, and it was perfectly fine. So that was another great bonus. The other thing was I started sleeping better at night, which I think also helped me have more energy. My wife says that my snoring decreased dramatically. And I've never been tested for it, but I think I have a little bit of the, I can't even think of what it's called now, when you're sleeping at night and you snore and you wake yourself up, sleep apnea. I've never been tested, but my wife says, man, you sound like, you're got a chainsaw going.
Yeah.
But that has decreased quite a bit. So.
Wow. So you lost 25 pounds in the first 2 weeks alone. You've kept it off. It's been about 2 months, 2.5 months.
We're coming on to almost 3 months now. Yeah.
Oh, almost 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're sleeping better. You skipped the cedar fever season when traditionally you had been subjected to that. You still taking over-the-counter medications?
No. Oh, that's the other thing. I'm not taking the Sudafed.
So you're off the over-the-counter medications, and